And we've been hearing a lot lately about dozens of other habitable planets being discovered. And today, NASA is hosting a discussion panel about these habitable planets that are just a short, 10, 20 or so light years away from us. So RT correspondent Megan Lopez joined us earlier from NASA, and I first asked her if we were close to finding another life form in our solar system.
We're absolutely closer, and I think that is the word, is closer but not close enough. The reason we're closer is because technology has developed so much. So what these panelists have really taken the time to do today was to disseminate some of the technological advances that they are achieving right now and that they are shooting for in the future, and kind of breaking down what they're hoping to gain from each one. Now, obviously, there are a number of challenges that face each one of these new technological advances, but scientists Sarah Seeger kind of breaks down for us what the chances are of us finding life on another planet.
What are the chances that the James Webb will find signs of life? And so I will answer it in two ways. In one way, we have to get really lucky. Every small star has to have a planet in its habitable zone, and each of those planets, most of them would have to have life, and most of that life would have to actually generate a byproduct gas that could fill the atmosphere. And the second way that I'd like to answer it, which I'd like you to walk away with, is that with the James Webb, we have our first chance, our first capability of finding signs of life on another planet. Now nature just has to provide for us.
So as she said, nature has to provide the way, and she said also that luck is a matter in that. But more importantly, what humans can control is the technology. There you heard her talking about the Webb telescope, which is set to launch in October of 2018. Now, this will give us a much farther look into our universe than the Hubble or the Kepler telescopes have actually provided us. The problem with one of the hurdles that they face in this telescope is that it's very big. It's much bigger than the Hubble or than the Kepler. So one of the challenges that they have had is the fact that the rockets aren't big enough in order to get some of these bigger telescopes that they have planned out there. So in order to overcome that challenge, scientists at NASA have developed a way for the Webb telescope to fold into itself. After launching, after getting to a certain place, it will then go over a month's worth of practice in order to unload and actually open up to the full size. So that's one of the hurdles that they're facing. Also, another kind of technological advance that they're starting to talk about, and that they have a really awesome design for that kind of looks like a flower, is called a star shade. One of the problems that they have when trying to identify planets is the fact that the star that the planet is circling around is so bright that it's impossible or nearly impossible to be able to see a planet. So what they do is they developed a star shade that they could either have connected to a telescope here on Earth, or one that would block out the star's rays out in space, and they're hoping to get that out there in the future.
Well, what are some of the major hurdles in finding life out there?
There are a lot of different hurdles. Now, first of all, as I had mentioned, that star shine is a major hurdle. Also, the rockets, I had kind of talked about those. The rockets right now are simply not big enough or not powerful enough to launch the type of technology that scientists need in order to be able to collect all the data they need to be able to make up any type of really, massive discovery. Also the telescope size. Right now, the telescope sizes are much smaller than what the scientists are really hoping for. So the Webb is obviously a big step up from the Hubble telescope, for instance, or from the Kepler telescope, but it's not big enough. It's not big enough for what they have planned in the future. And then also there is the sheer number of planets. In the last 5 years alone, we have discovered that there are millions and billions of planets, and so for them to be able to find life, they have to go through all of these stars and to really kind of determine, what these stars are. And Matt Mountain put it best into what the future looks like.
But to find evidence of actual life is going to take another generation of telescopes. And to do that, we're going to need new rockets, new approaches to getting into space, new approaches to large telescopes, highly advanced optical systems, as David and Sarah showed us. But between us, between science, NASA's technology, and today's space enterprise, it's within our grasp for the first time in human history
So as you can see, there is a lot of different discoveries, a lot of different technology. The future is bright, but it's going to take another generation of scientists and explorers to be able to really answer that question.
All righty, thanks for that cool info, Meg. That was RT correspondent Megan Lopez out at NASA.
As time goes along, I see the ET propaganda intensifying. And as I look at the propaganda, I see that it's being framed more openly as an attack against biblical Christianity. It is a very subtle attack, but a massive and very effective one.
It's a nice t-shirt.
Oh, thanks. I got it at my church. It's Jesus shooting Charles Darwin.
Why would Jesus want to shoot Charles Darwin?
Because of his blasphemous theories. Are you men of God?
We're men of science. We believe in the establishment of a biological order through the maelstrom of physical and chemical chaos.
God created the earth in 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested.
Really?
Or it could be God. You don't know, do you? It's up in the air.
The world is 4,000 years old and can only be the product of intelligent design.
Oh, that's horseshit!
All right, well then, please explain how something as complex as the human eye simply just comes into being.
Oh, don't give me that old irreducible complexity crap. Thank you.
Something as intricate as that does not just occur without the intervention of a guiding hand.
It didn't just occur. It is the culmination of billions of years of development across countless fucking species.
What are you talking about?
Evolution, baby.
Oh, blasphemy!
Oh, yeah. Well,
Nothing that you can say or do can shake my belief or faith in the sure and certain knowledge that God made heaven and earth and created us all in his own image.
Oh, his own image? Well, I got a question. How do you explain me? She's going, she's fine. Catch her. And that's Jenga.
We see the Vatican has been holding conferences on the discovery of extraterrestrials for the last few years. Now, this is the Vatican we're talking about, the Roman Catholic Church whose official doctrine condemns anyone to hell, anybody that believes in salvation through faith in Jesus Christ alone, which would include most Christians. And now we have Pope Francis, who seems to have this desire for all religions to unite for the sake of peace. He claims that everyone, even atheists, are saved by good works, when the Bible clearly says that good works alone will not bring salvation, and that unbelievers will be thrown in the lake of fire with the rest of the lot. And to top it all off, he calls Christians who believe the Bible to be true in all it says and takes it seriously an ideological illness.
Do you understand the evil here, guys? And you've got to be aware of who the Pope is. I'm going to go into some of his history, but let's read this new letter. God, this is so anti-Christian. He says, in ideologies, there's not Jesus. What he's saying is, forget the details. Our ideology, Pope, is that Christ is the only way. He says, in his tenderness, his love, and his meekness. He was not very meek when he had that whip and the money changers and the temple. That was not meekness. He says, and our ideologies are rigid, always. Of course they're rigid. There's only one way. But when you see these preachers here and on the internet start screaming, why are you getting hung up on the details? They don't want you to be able to discern the difference. Satan comes in very subtle. But you can strike a nerve, guys, and it gives them away every time. Talk about something that is Christian but that they don't teach, like demonic tongues or a false rapture, not the true gathering back that Paul talked about. But they said, don't get hung up on the details. Now let's read the rest of this letter. And he lies about Jesus right in the middle of it. He says, when a Christian becomes a disciple of ideology, he has lost the faith. He is no longer a disciple of Jesus. He is a disciple of this attitude of thought. Yes, we think for ourselves. For this reason, Jesus said to them, here's the lie. You have taken away the key of knowledge. He wasn't talking to Christians. Read that verse. It's talking to the lawyers. The knowledge of Jesus is transformed into an ideological and almost moralistic knowledge. Yes, we have morals. We don't rape children. We don't cover up pedophile priests. We don't go into foreign companies claiming healings that can't be proved. We have morals. It says the faith becomes ideology, and ideology frightens. Ideology chases away the people. Yeah, the truth. Why don't you just change that word of ideology to truth and read it like this? The faith becomes truth, and truth frightens, because that easy way out, the false rapture's not there any longer. Ideology chases away the people. You mean truth chases away the people? Yes, if they want to be fed lies, it does. If you tell them that it may not be quite so easy, quite such a fluffy, duffy ride out of here, they does chase them away. It says distances, and distances the people, and distances of the church of the people, but it is a serious illness. So the Christian ideology now is a serious illness.
Now, it has been recently reported that Pope Francis, this devil, will make a public statement about ET life and its effects on theological beliefs. The following article states that Pope Francis is reportedly preparing a major road statement about ET life and its theological implications. In an interview titled, "The ET is My Brother," the head of the Vatican's observatory stated that intelligent ET life may not have experienced a fall and may be free from original sin, remaining in full friendship with their Creator. This makes it possible to regard them as our brothers, as Hughes explained. Just as there is a multiplicity of creatures on earth, there can be other beings, even intelligent, created by God. This is not in contrast with our faith, because we can't put limits on God's creative freedom. Why can't we speak of a brother extraterrestrial? It would still be part of creation. Unquote. Now, I'll stop here, because there is no use in wasting any more of my time with this article. According to biblical doctrine, God gave Adam and Eve dominion over all creation because humans are the image bearers of God, His representatives on earth. So therefore, when Adam brought sin into the world, his actions also applied to all of creation. While moral redemption through Jesus Christ only concerns humans, the fall, or the curse of death itself, was universal, for there was no death before the fall. This is why God in the end times creates a new earth as well as a new heaven, because it is all about reconciliation of God with His creation through the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So if I am to assume that ET life exists at all, then the fall, the curse of death, still applies to them as well, contrary to what this heathen will tell you. This is of course assuming that we're even talking about ETs at all in the first place, or a creature from some other planet, because as far as I can tell, angels are the only thing in the Bible that can reasonably be referred to as alien, which is a vague term referring to anything not indigenous to a particular area. You notice that those who want to believe in ET life will play this strawman argument that we should not put creative limits on God, when this is not about what God is capable of. This is about what the Bible, His inspired word, does and does not say. As is the case with the giants, which I addressed in a previous video, it is also important to understand what angels are and where they come from. The first key to understanding what angels are and where they come from is in understanding what Satan is. In Ezekiel 28, Satan is referred to as an anointed cherubim. And we all know that cherubim are heavenly beings, as they cover the throne of God Himself. We know this is Satan being referred to because this cherubim was also in the Garden of Eden. The only ones that were present in Eden was Adam and Eve, and that old serpent the devil, as Satan is called in Revelation, who starts a war in heaven, loses the war, and is thrown out of heaven along with the rest of the angels that fought with him. So we can see that angels are heavenly creatures just by understanding what the Bible says about Satan. And while angels are spirit beings, and thus do not have physical bodies like us, they often appear in the likeness of men. Other times they appear as luminous creatures with wings. There are quite a few verses that refer to an angel's place of origin in a more indirect way, like the angels in Jacob's dream that were ascending and descending from heaven, directly from God's dwelling place. You have Psalm chapter 78, where God lifts the veil between our universe and heaven to drop in food for the Israelites, which is referred to as angel food. You have verses where angels spoke to people directly from heaven. And lastly, you have the book of Job, where the angels were already shouting for joy in God's presence as He was creating the heavens and the earth. So while it is made very clear that angels are alien in origin, at no point is it even implied that they are extraterrestrial. Neither the Bible nor any other extra-biblical text states that they descended from planet Mars or any other terrestrial body in space for that matter, because there is nothing terrestrial about an angel's origin. Their real origin is in heaven, which makes them celestial or supernatural in origin, something entirely different from an ET. And I guarantee you, that when the son of perdition arrives, he will claim to be an alien from another planet. He will claim to be an ascended master who evolved into godhood, the absolute pinnacle of evolution. This impostor is referred to as the man of sin because his appearance is that of a man. The giants also have the appearance of a human, who are the offspring of the fallen angels. This correlation is important to understand because, like I said before, the skeletal remains of the giants will play a major role in this deception. It will likely be claimed that the giants and the son of perdition are related to each other, and that they had a hand in our ancient past, that once upon a time, his kind intervened on our behalf and sped up our evolution from ape to man.
What they're going to tell you is that Mars was populated by an ancient race who destroyed their planet in warfare and had to live underground because of the consequences of these terrible calamities that they visited upon themselves. And at some point in our ancient history, they came to this earth and populated the earth with the survivors of that cataclysm, and that they bred with early man, and the human race was the result of that mixture. The different races being different levels of interbreeding with this extraterrestrial life, and the what they call the useless eaters, or what they call the backward races, are the as yet unevolved or undeveloped, unbred humans. Sounds far-fetched, doesn't it? Well, you just keep your eyes and ears open, ladies and gentlemen, because that is the thrust of all that you're going to hear regarding extraterrestrial life, outer space.
The Mars Science Laboratory is expected to enter the Martian atmosphere in August 2012. After deploying its parachute and landing on the surface, an automobile-sized remote-controlled rover named Curiosity will probe the red planet's past and present ability to sustain microbial life.
It's going to be able to roam around the surface of Mars. It's pretty fast compared to our old rovers. It can go the length of a football field in an hour. But it can also analyze the surface of Mars, and it's trying to find out, look, was there ever liquid water here, lakes, oceans, that kind of thing? What about the chemical composition of the soil? Is it the kind of thing that indicates that Mars was once a kinder, gentler world? It's not looking directly for life. We still don't do that.
We have evidence that although Mars is very cold now, has a very thin atmosphere, it once had a thick atmosphere, blue sky, clouds, rain, liquid water, the ingredients we think would be possible for life. So it's quite reasonable to imagine that life formed there long ago. The question is, could the life have survived as the planet got colder? Could it have gone below the surface, for instance? We think so.
So if there is anybody that are of the elect or the church that will likely fall for this deception, it is the theistic evolutionists, because to them, this will still imply that humans are a special creation. And what makes this scenario even more likely is the fact that the Vatican are also theistic evolutionists. The Vatican will completely pervert scripture, similar to how the New Age movement, and especially cults like the Raelian group, butchered scripture. We can see that with these different groups, this concerted effort to redefine theism with ET. Since angels often appeared in human form, it will likely be claimed that the giants and the angels are one and the same thing. And it has been pointed out many times that this is exactly what was done in the Noah movie. In that movie, and in many others, the giants were basically presented as benevolent angels. So this blurring of the lines between the two has become common with Hollywood on an increasing basis for the last 10 odd years. And they might even refer to verses like Genesis chapter 1 verse 26 that states that we were made in the image of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and claim that this verse in fact means that we were made in the image of our extraterrestrial brothers. So my scenario may not be 100% accurate, but when you look at all the alien propaganda, when you look at movies like Prometheus, that also so clearly portrays the giants as ETs that seeded life on Earth, I know that my scenario is not that far off.
Look. Is that what I think it is?
Yeah. It's Mars. That's where they went.
Look. One stayed behind.
Earth, before the continents separated.
My God, that's it. Hundreds of millions of years ago, there was a sudden explosion of life on Earth. The first multi-celled plants and animals appeared. No one has ever understood why or how it happened. They seeded Earth. They're us. They're them.